Daniel.
I'm Justin.
And you're watching Gear65, the gadget review show. This is a special two-part episode where we're taking a look at the Nokia E72. So this is the E72. This is Nokia's fourth iteration of a QWERTY keypad, like thumbboard kind of phone, right? They had the E61, the E71, E63, and now they have the E72. If you actually know these, if you're familiar with these particular models, right, the E72 is essentially a cross between an E63 and an E71. It took the good parts from these phones. As usual, let's talk a little bit about the hardware itself, right? So you have still the same similar 320 by 240 pixels screen, which is pretty good for a phone like this.
It's good enough.
Yeah, it's pretty standard, yeah, it's good enough. You have a front-facing camera over here. The speakers here. You have these metal buttons, which I'm actually quite fond of. Actually, I like them.
And it has a very nice.
It's very nice depth. Right? Yeah, when it feels very good to the click. Here you have the home key. Press once to go open the menu, press and hold, and then what you will get is that you'll actually have the task manager. Right over here, you have the calendar button. Press once to to open the calendar, press and hold to do something else. Likewise for these few here. Now these three buttons are all customizable. They each have two actions: press and hold. Right. For right now, the default one is here is you press once to open your email inbox, press and hold to write an email, for example. Right. I changed it to SMS, and you can do all that as well. Call, hang up buttons. Over here there's a 5-way trackpad. So basically it's a 5-way and you can push in. In addition, they also added a optical trackpad,
which is really nice.
Which is nice. Personally, when it comes to navigating the phone, I still prefer to use the 5-way pad. But there are advantages nevertheless with the optical trackpad. Surfing the web, for example, is like using a mouse.
Yeah, I really like the optical trackpad, which is different from the E71.
E71, which didn't have it. Yeah. So I mean, you can change the sensitivity. Like for example, you see right now the sensitivity is not very high, but if you set it high enough, you basically be able to scroll up and you jump from the top to the bottom quite quickly, which is a cool thing. I personally still prefer using the what do you call it, the 5-way trackpad. But it's a personal preference thing. The keyboard, which is basically the main focus of this particular phone. The keyboard has been changed from the E71. When the E71 first came out, right, I was a little bit disappointed with their keyboard because they took out several keys.
So what are the several keys that was
that they took out, and they brought it back with the E72, so I can show them to you. For one thing, the spacebar used to be 4 keys. Now the spacebar is just 2, which is fine. It works well because that was how it was all along. Because of that, they could add in 2 extra keys. For example, control key right now is dedicated. In the past, you have to actually press a hotkey in order to press control. Why this is important is because there are a lot of shortcut commands on this phone itself. I'll show it to you later. It's just
so previously in the E72 you had to press 3 buttons. Right?
Let's take copy for example, right? Copy in the past was Control C, right? If you want to do E71, you have to press the alternate button, press the control button and the C button. That's like 3 fingers. If you take a look, you go online and compare a picture of the E71 and E72, right? You notice that a lot of extra keys have been added. Basically, it's a much better keyboard,
and it's much more complete keyboard.
Yes, that's right. Shortcut to the Bluetooth is here, and then it's a much more complete keyboard, definitely.
And definitely for me, coming from a touch and the traditional 9 keys keypad, right? It takes some time to get used to actually typing on this keypad. But once you get used to it, you can type really, really fast on your messages and whatnot.
That's right.
And that's the other thing that we're going to go into.
Yep. So one thing is that you might find the keys a little bit small, right? After a while, you get used to it. And another thing that you might notice also is that just like the E71, it's a little bit soft. The keys it might get a little bit used to, but once you're used to it, it shouldn't be a problem. I know a lot of people have bought the E71 and they really like it, so you should have no problems enjoying the keyboard for this particular.
But I do really want to see a little bit more pillow bump from the keys itself, so that it's a little bit more distinct for me to differentiate which key I'm typing. So that's the only thing I have about the keypad.
Yep. So that is the front. We spent a long time on the front because basically it is the bulk. By the way, they just thought I wanted to mention this. The ring around the keypad actually lights up. So it will actually light up a little bit when it's on standby, and when you have missed calls, new SMSs, they will actually glow as well. And
one of the concerns about the what do you call that?
The optical trackpad.
The optical trackpad and the pressing thing over here at the side, the 5-way, right? Previously it was kind of very rough to to touch the trackpad and move around, right? And I think they smoothed it out a little bit. Yeah,
the prototypes
really
that we played with did not have felt a little bit rough, so they fixed it before they went on retail, which is good. Oh, by the way, also another thing that I wanted to mention is that if you notice, the keys are a little bit curved upwards, so which is good.
Which is
you can actually feel them much better, right? So these are improvements from the E71. You definitely can push these buttons a lot easier. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at the side. So now you have a micro USB port right over here. Both data as well as charging. Charging can be done through the micro USB, which is pretty cool. Here's the micro SD card slot, accessible from the outside. Good. Unfortunately, the SD card is really difficult to take out because it's really recessed in. It's really deep inside. I had a little bit of trouble taking out.
But I don't see a problem with this because, like, how many times do you actually take out?
Yeah, but when you do need to take out, that will be an issue, right? Well, people take it out enough for them to actually move the SD card outside. So it is still a concern. Yeah, so that's one thing that they probably need a little bit work on. So the bottom,
you can
still charge using the traditional Nokia charger. So which is good, right? You have two options: micro USB or this.
And previously, I think you are not able to charge using the micro USB.
I believe with the E71 you can do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so most of the Nokia phones can do that already, which is good. Lanyard hole is here. On the side here you have these buttons, basically volume control and some shortcut keys that you can actually set. And then at the back here you have a 5.0 megapixel camera with a xenon flash.
I like that.
Which is great. So one disadvantage though we're not very happy is that because it's a 5 megapixel camera, it juts out a lot. So when you put it on a table, you tend to put it like this, right? So the chances of you scratching this part, at least this portion of the camera, is pretty high. Yeah, pretty high that it will actually wear out. Fortunately, the camera is actually recessed inwards, so the lens itself will not be damaged. But it's just one thing that you want to take note. You have a loudspeaker over here. On the top part, you have the power switch. Most of the time you will not have to use this, right? Other than maybe switching your profile. This is great, right? The 71 actually had a 2.5mm head jack. They changed this to a proper 3.5
finally
millimeter head jack.
Thank you.
By the way, one thing we want to point out about the design is that it has some weight to it, right? Whether it's the weight good or bad, it's up to you. You gotta play with it yourself. It is definitely heavier than the E71, but it gives the weight helps. To some people they prefer it, right? It gives a little bit more weight, makes the phone feel a bit more solid. But some people might actually not like the weight. I've actually had people actually tell me that they don't like the weight. I personally am fine with it.
I'm personally fine with it. It's not too heavy. It's not as heavy as the HTC
right? Touch Pro 2. Well, that was heavy. This is actually not too bad compared to that one. The smartphone itself is basically what you will find in a normal, really high-end smartphone today. You have GPS, you have Wi-Fi, you have Bluetooth, you have a compass inside as well. So it's a pretty quite feature-filled in terms of hardware. So that was part 1 of the Nokia E72 episode of Gear65. Be sure to check out part 2. We're going to go more in depth with the software and some of the features of the Nokia E72.